Hello and welcome to the AP Green Jobs Network. I'm Sophie Fisher from the International Labour Organization. Today we'll be looking at some of the key issues relating to green jobs in Asia and the Pacific. Today's programme will focus on a project in Bangladesh that is encouraging green jobs in the solar energy industry. We'll be looking at some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that have been thrown up by that project. And we'll also talk a little about the prospects for green jobs in renewable energy in other parts of the Asia-Pacific region. First, let me introduce you to our panel in the studio today. We have with us Matthew Hengesbaugh, who's the Regional Coordinator for the ILO's Green Jobs in Asia-Pacific project. And joining us from Bangladesh are Farida Shahnaz, who is the Bangladesh National Coordinator for the Green Jobs in Asia project, Nabi Khan, who is Senior Programme Officer for the ILO in Dhaka, and Shahidul Islam, who's Head of International Cooperation and Development at Grameen Shakti, which is part of the Grameen Bank. Welcome to you all and thanks for joining us. Matthew, let me start with you. Since it's the first show for the AP Green Jobs Network, can you start by explaining to me what exactly is a green job?
Sure, Sophie. The ILO defines green jobs as decent and productive employment opportunities that work to reduce negative environmental impacts, ultimately leading to environmentally, economically, and socially sustainable enterprises and economies.
So the purpose of this is to put employment at the service of sustainable development rather than making employment antithetical to sustainable development.
That's correct. It's a two-pronged strategy. Green jobs work not only to improve the environmental sustainability, but also ensure decent work.
Now, there are a lot of definitions of green jobs, but the ILO insists on putting in this component of decent work. Why is that so important?
It's so important because of the enormous structural challenges that our economies face today. Climate change and issues of resource scarcity present market discontinuities, which will be very difficult to address without the full cooperation and involvement of the social partners along with governments.
But by adding the requirement for decent work to the requirement for green jobs, surely we just make it more difficult for people to come up with green jobs.
Well, I think it's a matter of sustainability, Sophie. We're not going to be able to address the enormous challenges that we face today unless we have full cooperation and consensus between our social partners. Workers and employers must find ways to work together to ensure that these issues can be addressed.
So would you class the decent component of green jobs as actually being part of the underlying sustainability requirement, in that a non-decent job cannot be sustainable?
Absolutely. In fact, you'll notice from the definition I gave, we're working with a framework definition, and this is to make sure that green jobs can be understood within the national context, so that they're aligned with national priorities in terms of policies, regulations, and standards. So it has to be contextualized within the country-specific context.
Today we're looking at this project in Bangladesh, which focuses on solar energy. Why did we choose this particular project in Bangladesh, and why solar energy?
Well, it goes back to 2008. All demonstration projects, in fact, under the Green Jobs in Asia project, were built, of course, upon research and consultations with our social partners. There's huge demand and potential for solar energy in Bangladesh, and I hope that our colleagues in ILO Dhaka will get into this as well. But because not only due to the government's climate change strategy and action plan, but also the renewable energy policy dating back from 2009. Now, this in fact set a target for renewable energy, including the introduction of solar home systems. The target's quite high, and so there's huge demand for green jobs in the installation and maintenance of solar home systems.
Okay. Let me at this point bring in our colleagues in Bangladesh and come first to you, Farida. How important is solar power and solar energy in Bangladesh?
Thank you, Sophie, and nice meeting you. Solar power is, at this moment is very important for Bangladesh. Basically, broadly, if we can say it addresses two aspects of very important aspects of Bangladesh. Like one is employment, and that is which needs to be green, and another aspect is it addressed the prevailing power crisis in Bangladesh. You know, Bangladesh as a country, it has a huge population, but we are a very low. We are in terms of low energy consuming country, and here we can say that at least 60% population is out of this national grid power connection. Only 40% is under coverage of national grid, and this 40% is mostly in urban areas. So we need to focus on our alternatives. And as I said, Bangladesh is facing a crisis of power crisis, and government is very active to address this crisis and taking many efforts. And one of them is promotion of renewable energy. And in terms of employment generation, what I referred earlier, that this is a sector, it's emerging, and there is a huge option that unemployed youth of rural areas can get employment. And if we see the ITCOL is the financial organization of Bangladesh government. Through ITCOL, government has a target of expansion of solar energy, like by 2014, ITCOL's target is 2.5 billion. And I think if you consider this target, you understand how much skilled force is needed around this country.
Okay, and now let me bring in Nabi Khan. Nabi, can you explain for us how the project actually works on the ground and what the different components of it are?
In fact, we started in 2008, the first launch of the Green Job Initiative in Bangladesh. So we focused in three important areas. One is on extending our knowledge base, that we did not know much about the sector. So we have to find out about the green jobs in the sector. So I am promoting where green jobs are, what are the potentials. This is the one. The second one we focused on is about our partners, social partners, how we can improve their knowledge, how we can improve their capacity to understand green jobs, because this is a new concept. And that is why, if you now ask, because of our initiative, if you ask a trade unionist or a Ministry of Labor officials, they will confirm that green jobs is a good initiative, and what ILO is promoting is what is needed for the country. And the third aspect is that we had this capacity for promotion of green jobs through public-private partnership, and you will hear later on from my colleague from Grameen Shakti that this is one example of how we do the partnership to promote green jobs in Bangladesh. So Mr. Shahidul maybe will explain in details how we did that.
Okay, could I ask you perhaps then to explain for us a little bit about how the private-public partnership system has worked for this project?
In fact, Grameen Shakti is working in this organization. It is a private organization. You can call it as a private or the NGO. So through the ILO, there is a good connection with the Bureau of Manpower under the Ministry of Employment and Labor. So the partnership grows, and through the ILO's coordination, there is a training program on the solar technician. The technician programs are held at the Technical Training Center. The resource persons are from Grameen Shakti and also from the government department. So in this way, the private-public partnership is going on, and through this training program, we produce the technicians. Most of them are being absorbed by the Grameen Shakti, and they are doing very good job to install the solar home system. So we have completely, we have reduced the use of the kerosene in those houses, and we are thus helping the government to import kerosene from the other countries. By the time we have reduced emission of carbon more than 200,000 tons. That is our estimate. In October, Grameen Shakti alone could achieve the target of installing 1 million solar home system. And we have a program up to 2020, another 5 million solar home system installation. For those installation, we need technicians, solar technicians. So through the ILO training program, the last training program just ended last month, so more than 1,500 solar technicians have been trained, and they will be absorbed in Grameen Shakti, and they can do a very good job to fulfill the target we have fixed for up to the 2020.
Thank you. Perhaps I could bring Farida back in at this point. Farida, as I understand it, in addition to the benefits obviously brought by giving solar-generated energy to a whole lot of communities in Bangladesh who previously were not on the national grid and therefore had no regular access to electricity, you have also been training a lot of people to be solar engineers, including a lot of women. How important do you think it was to involve women as solar engineers in this project?
We think it's very important to involve women because our focus is in employment creation. And in rural areas, I said our project is targeting basically for both women and men. So it is our very affirmative intention to bring women into the training program, so they can get a job as well as they can help contribute in expansion of solar home system, which gives you the light in rural areas where there is no light. I mean, no electricity.
And presumably, as well as the direct effects of employment and skills training, there have been indirect beneficial effects of bringing electricity to these communities. I mean, there is now light at night where people can do income-generating activities or kids can study. Have you observed effects like this as well?
Yes, we can say that by activities we are definitely trying to create employment for the rural unemployed youth, both for men and women, and and our activity is putting some impact on their livelihoods as well, because in some areas children can read during night time after dusk, women can work after dusk, and also usually we use, like my previous speaker, Dr. Islam, told you that now they are not using kerosene lamp. So that was the kind of, now they're kind of using a hassle-free or environment-friendly mode of electric power. And also they are using this solar for their charging their mobile phone and using a community TV. So if you compare their previous condition, everything is dark after dusk. Now they can utilize their time by doing or reading or study or anything they want to.
What were the biggest practical problems that you encountered in rolling this project out?
First, in terms of project, it's time. And second, in terms of context, it's like it's not a structured sector yet. So when it is a structured sector, then it is easy to get in. But we are now at the stage that we are learning by doing. So it's not structured, and there needs to be organization who are interested to work on this. So like we got Grameen, Shakti and government, but our good amount of time are going on like making people understand why it is important for us.
Has there been a lot of interest in scaling this project up to other areas of Bangladesh?
Yes, government is very much focusing on alternative energy or power source solar home system, and there are many organizations coming forward. But I think there are many organizations who are interested. So far, I know ADB is interested, World Bank is interested, and we are all working on in this field. And there are 28 local NGOs who are partner of EatCall. EatCall is getting money from government. EatCall is using government money, and these partner organizations are getting fund from EatCall. And Grameen Shakti is one of the partner of EatCall as well.
Perhaps I could ask a question to Shahidul Islam here and ask him, what does he think are the opportunities and challenges from his perspective of expanding this project in Bangladesh? Because it clearly seems that there is interest both at the grassroots level and at the government level.
There is ample opportunities for the expansion of the solar home system in Bangladesh, as I mentioned you before, because the grid electricity expansion is not so much. And in Bangladesh, many of the remote areas, it will be very difficult for the government to take the grid electricity. So in those areas, so it is the solar home system which will work much better. So in those areas, Grameen Shakti, along with other partner organizations of EatCall, they are doing a very good job. So there is ample opportunities, as I mentioned. So we'll have to reach the people, within 2020, as in the Rio conference, as you know. So the electricity for all by 2030. So with this aim, in our mind, we are expanding our program. So there are ample opportunities, but there are some problems also. Especially the financial and legal framework needs upgrading. Attracting investment of financial institutions should be there. And high prices of the solar home system, it is a drawback. So now the prices are coming down, but still it is very high. Many of the rural poor people cannot afford it. So these are the difficulties. But with this solar home system program, we can create lots of new and skilled manpower, and especially the unemployed youth at the village in the rural areas, so they can be trained and they can be engaged. As you mentioned to Farida, Shahnaz, that many of the women in the rural areas, they can get training and they can be employed also by the solar companies. So there are opportunities, there are lots of opportunities in our country. And in the context of climate change, as you know, so worldwide, so solar or renewable energy system, so they can play vital role. And as you know, in Bangladesh, we are located in the tropics. We have plenty of sunshine. We can utilize our sunshine, to solve the problem of energy crisis in the country in a better way.
Matthew, the project team in Bangladesh has been talking quite a lot about the importance of the involvement of the social partners in implementing this project. And the ILO is unique in that its membership does include these, not only governments, but workers and employers' organisations. How important do you think that is in making a project like this successful?
I'd say it's extremely important, Sophie. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we need consensus between the social partners on how to actually promote and upscale green jobs. Now, the transitions that will take place will be impossible without having active involvement of both. So there has to be agreement on the part of workers and employers.
So this has to be grassroots up as well as policymakers down.
That's correct. And in fact, as we heard from our colleagues in Bangladesh, there are already policy frameworks in place for the promotion of renewable energy with a focus on solar home systems. So working together, governments, workers, and employers, I think there's a real opportunity to continue this and upscale throughout Bangladesh.
Now, this project is a regional project, not just in Bangladesh. What do you think the prospects are for expansion of this in the region to other countries and into other sectors?
Well, I'd like to talk to you a bit first about the Green Jobs in Asia project more broadly. There are three objectives of the Green Jobs in Asia project. The first is capacity building and training, including increasing information and access to our social partners on the employment impacts of environmental policies. The second is to provide policy support towards mainstreaming green jobs into national social and environmental policies. And the third are demonstration projects, the implementation of demonstration projects in 4 sectors in 5 of our countries. Those countries include Bangladesh, of course, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and Nepal. There are 4 demonstration projects. In Indonesia, it's sustainable tourism. In Philippines, it's sustainable construction for social housing. For Sri Lanka, the focus is on solid waste management. And of course, as we know, it's the solar home systems in Bangladesh. Now, the idea being, in terms of upscaling green jobs, we need to be taking a consistent approach, and that is working with all partners, of course. But in terms of renewable energy specifically, now there's incredible potential throughout the region. Number one, because studies show that through 2030, there's huge demand for energy writ large. In fact, the International Energy Agency says that upwards of 1/3 of new energy demand for primary energy sources will happen through 2035 alone. So that's the one hand. So there is huge potential for renewable energy.
Huge demand. Huge demand.
Huge demand for renewable energy. And it'll be impossible to to ensure that the conditions, the enabling conditions are in place for a transition to greener economies without having a proper skills base.
And the people who are going to take these jobs, these don't have to be particularly highly educated people. They can be comparatively ordinary people with basic literacy, basic education.
Well, I'd say that these aren't necessarily new skills as much as they are additional skills or skills that augment existing skill sets.
Because we heard from Bangladesh that quite a lot of the people who have been trained as solar technicians are women. And in Bangladesh, a lot of women, they don't have a very high level of education. So clearly it has been possible to include these people in the project quite easily.
Sure, our target beneficiaries, of course, are women because the employment opportunities in Bangladesh for women, as we heard from our colleagues, is not as high as it could be, of course.
And for the other areas that you mentioned, sustainable tourism, sustainable construction and waste recycling, are these also the kind of jobs and skills that you see could be taken up by comparatively ordinary people, people who have perhaps left school at 14 or 16?
Absolutely, absolutely. But going back to renewable energy, of course, I think it's important to focus on not only the benefits from employment, but also the idea that the jobs that can be created in renewable energy remain very, very high. There is high potential for green jobs in renewable energy. I think you have to have a more country-specific understanding in terms of the other potential sectors for green jobs creation.
So in every country in Asia-Pacific, green jobs will work out in a slightly different way, but we could say that in all of them there is huge potential, not only for new jobs, but for recalibrated existing jobs.
Correct, correct, especially for renewable energy.
Okay, well that's a very positive note to leave this discussion on. And unfortunately, we're now out of time, so I'd like to thank you very much for joining us for this show. I'd like to thank our panellists, Matthew Hengesbaugh, ILO Regional Coordinator of the Green Jobs in Asia project. In Dhaka, Bangladesh, Farid Shahnaz and Nabi Khan of the ILO, and Shahidul Islam from Grameen Shakti, where he is Head of International Cooperation and Development. And thanks to you for joining us. There'll be another discussion on green jobs soon, so please check out our website, which is www.ilo.org/Asia. Goodbye for now.